Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another show of FitFusion with Sharif Islam. I hope you guys been well and fit at home and following a good diet, and this is what we are here to talk about. Unfortunately, what happens is that most of us get a wake-up call after a visit to the doctors, and then the doctor turns out and says, you have so-and-so, maybe high cholesterol, diabetes, so many metabolic disorders I can name here, but most people, especially in our community, because of the diet that we have, which is very, very tasty, but unfortunately it's not always good for us. And then the exercise has to start, the diet plan has to start, and sometimes we're in middle of nowhere. We don't know what to do. And this is the reason we've got this show here, just to benefit you guys. And I have with me here Zara, Hiridjee, who is a nutritionist, and you're an expert in this field. So welcome to the show, Zara.
Thanks for having me, Sharif.
Thank you very much. Okay, so as it goes, FitFusion is all about how to get a good fitness regime in our life and also a good diet. So what would you say to somebody who may come to you and say, well, my doctor's just told me that I've got high cholesterol. What do I do? And he's told me to lose weight. What would you tell them in the first instance?
I mean, that's a very, very generic thing that we get told, right? You need to just lose weight, and very often we don't get very specific instructions. We don't learn how to build habits. We don't learn how to do all of these things. We have like very minimal information, especially when it comes to nutrition. So the first thing that we do would really assess where they're coming from. So is this someone who's always been going to the gym for 10 years and they still can't lose weight and they already have like a good knowledge and good habits, they know what to do? Or is it really someone who is just like a general population person? They have a 9-to-5 job, they don't know much about nutrition, they haven't really learned that, they just know they have to eat veggies and stuff, but they don't really know. So where can we start? Like what's the first thing that I would tell them is, that I would ask them is, where are you at right now? And from there, we're gonna do little steps to get you to a healthier place, but we need to start here and not just change. I can't just tell them, so from today you're going to go from eating curries and rice and all of this and tea with sugar and sugary drinks and sodas to suddenly having a perfect diet with just veggies or like boiled broccoli with boiled chicken,
That might put them off in the first instance, when suddenly you tell them, oh gosh, how am I going to do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why people can't stick to their goals, right? Like people are so motivated. It's New Year's, or they say, oh, next Monday. And on Monday, they're going to come and they're going to tell their wife, or they're just going to say, oh, today you're just making plain lettuce for me with a bit of chicken for protein. And I'm going to eat this. And I promise I'm going to lose weight. But 1 week after, it's going to be a birthday party and they're going to have a bit of cake. And the day after, they're going to be like, never mind, this is too hard. You know what? Now I'm giving up already, right?
Usually in New Year's resolution, and everybody has one, right? I'm going to stop eating maybe McDonald's or something, I don't know if I could mention that, but yeah, so, it's just people need to gradually change their habits. So what's a few small steps just for our audience can take today or tomorrow they can take from you?
So as we said, starting where you're from, like where you're coming from in the first place. So let's say, tell me what's a typical meal that a Bengali person would have in their house, for example.
So okay, let me tell you, first of all, a Bengali person, now we're very educationally motivated, so we will probably be have a 9-to-5 job, okay, and then we will probably look for a very easy way to cook something at home, or maybe grab something outside, local takeaway or chicken and chips. And usually the easy options are not the best options, right? So this would be a normal person. And what you ask me now is what they would have at home. Let's say breakfast, maybe some fried eggs, a few toasts with butter. I don't know, the viewers can correct me, but that would be for breakfast. And lunch, most probably be some curry and rice, okay? And dinner, same thing again, curry and rice. So yeah, so you would look at that first, and then what would you do?
So, okay, so that's like the typical thing. People, obviously, when they work so hard, etc., they need to have those easy options. It's very valid. Like, it's life nowadays. And so I would tell them, for example, let's say they're having curry and rice, and they're in a position right now where they're not feeling like they're losing weight, they're not happy with themselves, their health, etc. So let's say we look at their curry and their rice, and we see that 3/4 of the plate at the moment is rice. We have a bit of curry, maybe it's mostly, I don't know, what do you put in your curry? A bit of chicken curry.
Yeah.
Usually there's a lot of oil floating on top. So maybe as a like for a start, maybe we could tell them, okay, let's swap the rice with some brown rice. So we're gonna put 1/4 of brown rice. Maybe the other quarter, if you want to replace the carbs, what can I put? A bit of quinoa. You know quinoa? Okay. It can be a good source of
That's not
protein.
Very common in the Bengali community, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could say anything.
Tell me why brown rice then?
Yeah, because it has more fiber. So when we have white rice, we remove kind of the fiber of the rice.
The white rice.
It's refined, so we remove the vitamins, we remove the fiber, so it makes you feel less full. So you're more likely to eat more as well.
Just to explain, we hear fiber a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and how important the fiber is, especially also for the microbiome, the gut bacteria and everything. Just for the benefit of the viewers, why is fiber so important?
So for so many reasons, I think it's an excellent question, actually. So like we just mentioned, I'm just going to start with that. Yeah. It's going to help you feel fuller. So if I'm telling you have a piece of bread that's going to be 300 calories, let's say, I'm just giving a very basic example, or have this whole salad that's going to be really big, and that's going to be 300 calories, you know? Right. Which one do you think are you going to be fuller with? The big salad or the small piece of bread?
You're going to be fuller with the big salad, right?
Exactly,
yeah, so
because it has a lot of fiber, and it takes a lot of space in your stomach.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you eat a lot. Yeah. You eat a lot, but there's not that many calories, right? Okay. Whereas if you just eat that piece of bread, exactly. So that's one reason. Okay. Then another reason is going to help balance your blood sugar. Okay, so now you're having that piece of bread, right? Yeah. You're eating it, and your sugar is rising. And then you're going to have those crashes, in energy, you're going to have those cravings. We don't necessarily want those sugar spikes, except if you're exercising and things like that. Like, that's another topic. But for a general population, we want to prevent those spikes and crashes. Mm-hmm. So how do we do that? We have to keep the food the longest in the stomach, right? So if we just eat the bread, it's going to digest, the carbs are going to digest, and you're going to have that spike. How do you make it slower? You add fiber. So on that piece of bread, you can add a bit of avocado, let's say, for fat and fiber. And then you're going to see you don't have the spikes. It's going to be slower, it's going to be a steady and sustained.
So the fiber will digest slower.
Yes.
It will stay in your body for longer.
Exactly.
And it will make you stay full.
For longer.
Or you'll feel full for longer.
And you won't have those cravings, like, let's say, 1 hour.
You won't carry on eating.
Exactly. Right. After eating, sometimes you still want something sweet after the end of the lunch or the dinner.
Very true, yeah.
But if you have your fiber, you won't have the spikes and crashes where you have these cravings, you know?
Okay. Now let's get back to brown rice, and because it's got more fiber, okay? So we talked about the plate. Yeah. 1/3 of it is rice, and you said replace it with brown rice, okay? Yeah. Tell me a few more things. Absolutely. So we can take this home from you.
So let's say we talked about chicken. Yep. What kind of chicken do you have in it? Is it chicken thighs? Is it chicken breast?
Oh, it makes a difference, does it?
It makes a difference. Okay. So chicken thigh will have way more fats. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can change with chicken breast so you have more protein. You know, it's just little things. We can start with those very little things. Then I can say, what oil are you using right now? Is it canola oil? Is it going to be...
It's called vegetable oil normally. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sunflower oil or vegetable oil, yep.
Usually, you kind of want to limit this because they're already in so much of our food and they have quite a lot of omega-6s. Yeah. So maybe I can say replace this with maybe a little bit of ghee or a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, you know? Right.
When people hear ghee, they
Yeah.
sometimes raise their eyebrows
Yes.
because it sounds like a lot of fat. Why is ghee better than oil?
So, first of all, oil has a lower smoking point. So, when you cook ghee, you can have it at high temperatures and it doesn't oxidize as much as the oils.
So it wouldn't turn into trans fat, is that right? Or inflammatory?
That's actually very different because it's
Okay.
a very controversial topic. So a
okay.
lot of people think saturated fats are really that's what makes your cholesterol rise, etc. But there's actually a lot of research at the moment. I work with the NHS in a company called Second Nature, and we actually we recommend that people may include a bit of saturated fat because you need saturated fat
I've actually been reading about that actually, and
I love that.
yeah. So
This is
they have been
amazing.
saying that a bit of saturated fat is actually good for you.
It's great because you need it to
yeah.
create things like you need cholesterol to create things like testosterone as well. You know, like this is important.
Yeah.
You need small amounts, but it's not. We shouldn't demonize it. You know, so
No.
like I would say prioritize ghee over. Over sunflower oil, you know, is going to probably benefit.
So my question was why ghee instead of oil, and you said because it's got a lower. So oil has a lower smoking point.
Yes.
And ghee you can.
Ghee has a lower smoking point.
Sorry, yeah, ghee has a lower and oil has a higher smoking
Yes.
point, right? So the ghee can be cooked in a higher temperature.
Yes,
is that
that's
right?
it. Yeah.
Okay, and what other benefits that does ghee give apart from?
So, because we talked about omega-6s, that's something that creates inflammation in your body. So we always talk about omega-3s balancing and having a right ratio between omega-3s and omega-6. So it has to be, ideally, you have to have a 1-to-4 ratio. So you have 1 omega-3 and 4 omega-6s.
Okay.
But in like nowadays, in our current lifestyle, we have 1-to-16.
Goodness me, so a lot of omega-6s,
That's
right?
why we have a lot of
Which
inflammation. That's why we have a lot of disease,
Yeah.
a lot of chronic like joint pain, etc. Like that plays a big role. So obviously omega-3s, but also we can have a bit of saturated fat, like we said.
Right,
It's
okay.
always going to be better than the omega-6s.
Okay. Okay. So going back to the chicken again, right? The chicken thighs, instead of the thighs, you recommend breast more because the meat is more leaner and more protein there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And maybe adding, as a last comment, I would say maybe adding a bit of spinach or like a bit of red pepper in the curry that you can barely see, you know. But as we talked, fiber is going to make you fuller. It's going to make you eat less. It's going to have a lot of benefits. Plus all of the nutrients. Like let's not forget the vitamins, the minerals that you're going to get from the veggies. That's so important. And it's these little things. You're not really going to see much of a difference. It's not this like a crazy thing that you're doing. It's so hard, you know? It's little things that actually are going to make a big difference over time. And that's when you're actually going to be able to stick. And you won't be like, I have to give up, you know? Like, it's going to be really easy. And you can start today. You can start tomorrow with a little simple thing like that.
Brilliant. Okay. So we talked about replacing the rice with brown rice. And then we have the lean, instead of the chicken, you go for the good lean piece of the chicken and all that. What else did you mention? Did we mention the fiber part of it?
Yeah, the veggies, the fats, like we said, just replacing a bit.
So in a plate of food, normally you would have some protein, you would have some carbohydrates, right? And you would have some good fats, okay? And so within that, we need the fiber, we need the protein, and we need the carbohydrates as well, okay? So which of that would you say to have more of?
So that's a really important question because very often we give those guidelines to everyone and it's the same guideline.
Yeah.
But you who goes to the gym, you're very active, right?
Okay.
Versus
Try to
someone
be,
who's at home all day.
Yeah, okay.
You're not going to have the same needs. You maybe need more protein, more carbs because you need to fuel your exercise. Someone who has diabetes won't need as much carbs, you know? Someone who has like a gut disease might not need as much fiber. So it's really, it has to be personalized and it has to be according to your personal lifestyle. And that's why nutrition has to be individualized as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay, now, we know that the doctors or even yourselves, you recommend losing weight, but gradually, right? So why can't somebody, if they want to go into losing weight so fast, why is that not good for you?
For so many reasons. So I'm going to mention again, the first one is going to be, it's not going to be very sustainable. You're going to do it for 1 week, 2 weeks. You're going to get tired. You're not going to give up,
So
right?
you're not going to achieve your goal, basically.
Absolutely.
If you want to go for it too fast.
And next New Year's going to say, oh, this year is the one I'm going to lose weight. And the year after, and the year after, and you're never going to get there.
Okay.
Exactly, because you think you have to do those crazy things, right? Something else is actually it can be unhealthy. If you lose too much weight right now, for example, if in 1 month you lose 20 kilos, it can be quite unhealthy. Okay. Because if you cut all of the foods from your diet, you might get nutrient deficiencies. Your metabolism is going to slow down. That means like at rest. Because even when you sleep, everyone needs to know, even when you sleep, you have a basal metabolism. That means your body is burning calories while you sleep. Okay. But if you stop eating, your body is going to be like, we're burning too many calories, so it's going to slow down. And your metabolism is going to slow down and slow down and slow down. And that's why people have this yo-yo dieting, where after dieting, they gain the weight very fast. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Or if yo-yo, yes, I've heard of that, yep.
So that happens to a lot of people. They diet, and it's so hard. And once they start eating normally again, they gain so much more weight, right?
Yeah.
And that's yo-yo dieting.
And it's more weight than in a normal circumstance before they started.
That's it. Okay. And that's because they go too quick.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we know that protein is very, very important. Yes. Okay, for your body. It gives you energy. It gives you muscle. If you're in a difficult situation, it takes more time for the protein to burn and so forth. Right. So, I mean, what's the role of protein in weight loss?
That's a very good question because again,
I'm asking you very good questions all the time, aren't I?
I love them.
Brilliant, go on.
Because very often, like we said, when people want to lose their weight, they just say, "Oh, I'm going to eat lettuce. I'm going to have salad," you know. Yeah. And they're hungry, etc. But the first role of protein that I'm going to say is it makes you satiated. So it makes you full. It keeps you full. So having protein is going to keep you full for longer. Okay. Then another role of protein is going to be, obviously, maintaining your muscle mass. So when you lose fat, you lose weight, you're not just going to lose fat, you're also going to lose muscle. And you need muscle for these metabolic processes, even for insulin, like being able to absorb like carbs properly, you need muscle. Okay. Plus, like you look better with muscle, let's not lie. And so that's going to help you maintain muscle. And another last point that I would say about protein that not a lot of people know, but when you eat protein, about 20 to 30% of it is burned during digestion. So if you're having 10 calories of, okay, let's say 100 calories of protein, you're only going to absorb about 70 calories because it's so hard for your body to digest protein that it's burning a lot of calories just by digesting it. That means that it's less calories than anything else. It makes you fuller. It helps you keep your muscles. And I think it's very important. That's why you're always going to see products with like high protein, high protein, high protein. Right, yes. Because it's very important for weight loss.
But again, if it's just protein in your diet, then that's also not good, is it?
Yes, yes. It has to be a balance. Yeah. Every micronutrient, so carbohydrate, fiber, fat, and protein, they all have to have a place in your diet.
Right. Because we know that, I mean, just protein itself could be sort of, bad for your kidneys and stuff like that. Would you say something about that quickly?
There's a lot of talking about that. I don't think there's actually a lot of science around kidney and protein. All right. But yeah, I think like having just protein would not be optimal when it comes to even nutrients because you need a lot of nutrients even for energy.
But it is important to build muscle when you're on a sort of weight loss journey as well. Yeah, and you mentioned why.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So. How would somebody also, with regards to exercise, so if somebody was having a good diet but no exercise, what does that mean for a person?
So
maybe they don't have time.
Yeah.
They just can't get those, half an hour, 45 minutes.
That's an excuse. I would tell them, if it's a priority, you're going to make time for it. Why do you not have time for it? So when it comes to exercise, people think, I have to run for 3 hours and that's going to be exercise. But again, we have to ask the client, the patient, where are you coming from right now? Maybe they can go on a 10-minute walk before going to bed, or they can go on a walk after after work with his wife, with their wife or their family, or they can go on a hike on the weekend, or they can swim a little bit, or they can. It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be 5 hours at the gym or anything like that. But those little things at the end of the week, they add up. If you burn 200 calories one day, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after, at the end of the week, you've burned 1,000 calories. And that's going to reflect on the way you look. That's going to reflect on your weight. And it doesn't have to be 3 hours of running. You're never going to be able to sustain. It can be very small. People overcomplicate, because the thing is, people want quick results. If people don't see, I've lost 10 kilos in 3 weeks, it's not working. I need to lose it now because I want to be good for summer. But people need to think in the long term. So when in 10 years, do I want to be healthy? Do I want to be able to move when I'm old? Or should I be in a wheelchair and people pushing me? That's important. That's why people
Patience is very, very important here, right? Okay. And you can sort of give yourself a time as well, an objective to reach that objective. Within 6 months or 1 year.
And it has to be realistic, right? That's it.
We both said that together. Okay. Now, when it comes to, and you're a female, now we hear a lot about the female body is slightly different from the male body, and they need to do different types of exercise. They need to eat different. We hear that sometimes. Yes. How much of that is true?
That's, again, another great question, because very often when we talk about science, etc., we often do studies on men, and we talk a lot about men, and we recommend things for men. But when it comes to females, things are similar, but also there are differences. So I would say when it comes to diet, when it comes to these things, very often when we go on a weight loss phase, for example, men tend to restrict their fat intake very often. And for females, we need to make sure at least 20% is going to be fats, because for hormones, it's going to be very important. Let's not forget, women have a menstrual cycle. We need this to be considered as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So at least 20% fats have to come from that. Then weight loss does not have to be extreme. Female don't need to have an extreme abs with 0% fat, because females are biologically meant to procreate, and they need those amounts of fat as well. So about between 16 and 33% would be a healthy range for females. And when it comes to exercise, actually it's very surprising, because a lot of women, when we talk about them and we tell them go to the gym and lift weights, they think in 2 weeks they're going to get big and they're going to look like a man. But it's actually a big myth, because first of all, I feel like a lot of females who look really big, they're either taking drugs or steroids, or they're really into bodybuilding and stuff like that. It's not very easy for a female to build that muscle. And when you go to the gym and you see females, you're going to see they look very feminine. They don't look like men, And yet, muscle building has a lot of benefits, like we mentioned before, when it comes to metabolic health and things like that. And it's very enjoyable as well for females.
Okay. Lastly, for female or male, we hear resistance training is always really good.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Just explain to us quickly what resistance training is, and why is it good for us?
So resistance training is going to be mostly lifting weights, lifting heavy weights. It doesn't have to be extremely heavy, but trying to go into those ranges where you build muscle and then you progressively increase and increase and increase. So it's going to be, you don't even have to go to the gym, resistance training can be having weights at home, doing a few squats, doing a bit of lunges, and just trying to, I know a personal trainer is going to be able to talk more about this than myself, but doing what you can to build muscle as well. So lifting heavy enough, and maybe the next week increasing a bit when it comes to the weight or the reps, or changing different range of motions or different tempos, etc. But that's what resistance training
Thank you, Zara. Thank you for coming to the show. I've learned so much from you today, and I'm sure the viewers have learned from you as well. And just to go back to the viewers, with regards to the female training or diet or male, generally it's quite similar. But again, just like Zara was mentioning, that everybody is different and they need to assess an individual with whatever dietary needs they may have, whatever conditions they may be in. But lastly, we talked about resistance training and how it's really, really important. And in the next show, we'll be talking about this, and we'll be talking about what it actually means and how can you also achieve your goals through resistance training. And also we talked about the small steps to every success, whatever it's, anything if you talk about, it's always good to take it in small steps, and you will achieve your goal. So I hope you enjoyed the show and benefited, and until next time, Assalamu alaikum.